Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, fellow rock dwellers. And welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Sharron Engel, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network with a shout out to our listeners in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Nevada, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Colorado, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, and now you can also hear us in Alexandria, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. Today, my co-host is George Landrith. And George, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
It's great to be here, but every time I'm on, I think the word rock dweller is thrown in my direction, I suspect. I'm a proud rock dweller.
Well,
whatever.
It just gets better every time the Democrats open their mouths. They can't.
New insults get added. At some point, we're going to have to figure out how to edit all this out because the whole show could be devoted to all the names they call us. Just be 2 hours of boom, 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 boom. Just the litany of names.
Well, and that's the stuff that's uncensored. I mean, we've censored it. Right. The uncensored stuff is even worse.
Yeah, we can't use all the foul stuff. We just have to use the stuff that's mean-spirited but not vulgar.
Right. Well, speaking of the stuff that's out there on the airwaves, I know you watch closely as I do, especially because of this show. I feel like I have to be up to speed. On the news of the day. So tell me, which things struck you as newsworthy? Because not everything is. I mean, I sort through it and say, oh, why do we have to hear about that? But anyway, some things are really newsworthy. Talk to me about what you found.
Well, I think there's a couple things that I kind of took some notes on and that I think is kind of interesting. But one of the ones that I thought was very interesting was the what we've seen going on, and we've got a guest we'll have on a little later with Hans Von Spakovsky, and I think we'll touch on this. But I do think it's very interesting to watch this whole thing, essentially the lies that have come out. So originally, Monday, Sunday, when the story first broke, we were told that we have, 8 instances in the conversation, and Trump was just talking about Biden the whole time, and there were it was a clear quid pro quo, on and on and on and on and stuff. And then you read the transcript, you kind of go, okay. At the end of the conversation, he mentions Biden as an afterthought. There's clearly no quid pro quo at all. And it wasn't the major thrust of the conversation. It was, in fact, kind of an afterthought. There were a lot of the things talked in the conversation, but looking into the Biden situation was not a big part of it. So it is interesting to me. It just shows to me, somebody, whether it's the press, maybe it was their sources lied to them. But I've long said that most of the press now are just lying sacks of rotting fecal matter. I had to clean that up because we're on, radio and television. And I think they just prove this every day. They prove it over and over and over again. And I talking with friends, I remember saying, when this comes out, we'll see it. It will not be what they said it was, but they'll pretend that it was everything they claimed it was, and they'll readjust. And so, I get a kick out of watching Adam Schiff on the TV telling us how he's just shocked and he's appalled. And it's like, yeah, I kind of get that. This is a guy who's been lying to us for 3 years, telling us that he had the goods. He had proof that our president was out running around with the Russians and that he was a Russian operative, not just coordinating with them, but he was actually a Russian operative and stuff. And so I'm just kind of the point now where I realize this is never going to stop. When Donald Trump is reelected, we'll have 4 more years of this crazy insanity unless Americans go to the polls and say, you know what, we're going to send a few less of the lunatics to Congress, a few less Adam Schiffs, a few less Nancy Pelosi's. It's because otherwise there's no lie they won't tell. There's no fact they won't fabricate. These people are thoroughly disinterested in truth. They're only interested in promoting their own power. And so they will tell whatever story they want to tell, no matter how disjointed it is from fact, to aid them in their quest for power. And that's not a very pretty picture. That makes them bad people. I'll make that very clear here. Yes, I do. I believe Adam Schiff is a bad person. If he had the opportunity, he would be a totalitarian dictator. He just is stuck with our system of government, so he can't do that. So he will break all the other rules to try to acquire the power that if he lived in a different society, he could get through other means.
You're exactly right about this being just a tag along to the Russian situation. Ukraine is part of Russia, so they're making this, or it was, yeah, it was, and so they're making this close proximity of the Ukrainian people and the Russian people and the Russian government, Ukrainian government. They're still trying to call the president out on his Russian involvement. Right. It just seems like such a double-edged sword, though. In their pursuit of this, they kind of got their top guys caught up in the whole thing, because there is something really rotten about Joe Biden's son and Kerry's son doing a deal in the Ukraine, and then when the government changes, the deal falls through. But who else was going to ask? I mean, we've all been listening to this deal come out. It has been bubbling to the surface for quite a while now. And finally, the president just asked the question, what's going on? Do you know what went on there? And how does that become a problem? I would think anyone who wants the truth, and as you point out, they are not very familiar with the truth on that side, and don't like it, in fact. So they're not going to be very happy with what the truth is. But I think that
they never are.
I think that Joe Biden may have some serious consequences, serious explaining to do as well, because it seems like it was because of his position in the Senate that he was able to get this deal in the first place for his son. And then when it looked like his son was going to get caught, he then used his power in the Senate to...
or as vice president.
Well, I think it was even before then, but
certainly... it may have started earlier,
But certainly he was able to tell them, you're not going to get the $1 billion. You're not going to get the money if you don't drop this case, if you don't remove the person who's investigating and put someone in that's much more friendly, you won't get it. And it better be done before I leave town. I mean, it was just, it's so much coercion, so much heavy-handedness. It reminds me of the extortion and the mob. Yeah, exactly.
Protection money. No, absolutely. I mean, this is the things we do know. It's interesting because the press pretends that we don't know for sure what Biden did. But let me just tell you what we do know. These are facts that we know. His son was kicked out, discharged from the Army for drug abuse. Okay, that makes him largely unemployable in most jobs because he was kicked out of the military. He had drug problems almost his entire adult life. He doesn't speak Ukrainian or Russian. He doesn't have any marketable skills in the energy field at all. Somehow he gets a job working for a Ukrainian company to serve on their board of directors. And they pay him about $170,000, not a year, but a month. $170,000 a month. Okay? Drug addict, kicked out of the military, otherwise unemployable. And what's his qualification? Daddy's the vice president. That's his qualification. Then his dad, when he's being investigated, goes and tells, and then he brags to us. So we know he did this. This isn't supposition. Unless Joe Biden's lying to us when he told us the story, and we get the same story out of the Ukraine, and we know the guy was fired, so it seems like it's probably true, which is he demanded that this prosecutor be fired, that the investigation of the company that employed his son and the investigation of his son be stopped. And it was. And that he told them that if they didn't do that, he would withhold the billions of dollars of aid that America. That is an abuse of power of the highest order. He's actually using American money as a taxpayer money, American power, American prestige to benefit his son. But we don't know any of that. I mean, we don't know. I mean, it could have been very innocent. And it's kind of like, but we can read the stinking memo for Trump and there's no quid pro quo, but they're willing to assume it nonetheless. So this double standard is beyond the pale. As I've often said, if it were not for double standards, the far left would have no standards at all. These people are lying sacks of rotting fecal matter. I'm sorry. Don't mean to defend people, but that's just the truth. Somebody needs to go to jail. It just seems like, we've been saying that for years. It seems like with Hillary Clinton and then with Obama and now with Joe Biden, somebody needs to go to jail. And with that, we're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. George and I will be right back after these messages to talk about our guests for today.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and to our radio show today, and as well to our AUN TV network television show. I'm Sharron Angle here with my co-host George Landrith, and we are coming to you in some great places in Northern California: San Rafael, San Francisco, Marin, North Bay, San Jose, Silicon Valley, Santa Rosa, Wine Country, Redding, Sacramento, and Monterey. And soon we'll be in Nevada, Carson City, Tahoe, and Reno. So spreading out. George, we have some great guests planned for today. Would you please introduce them?
Absolutely. We're going to start off with a friend of the show, a fellow that I consider a friend, a real good guy, Hans Von Spakovsky. He's at the Heritage Foundation. He is a legal expert. You've seen him on Fox News. You've heard his or read his stuff in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Washington Times. He's been everywhere, and he's written some great books on things like voter integrity and so forth. So we're going to talk to him a little about what's going on in California and how California has tried to pass a law, and the courts told them no can do, but their attempt to determine who could run for president on a state, there's have the California decide, the Constitution may say X, but we're gonna stick our nose in here and change the rules. And then we want to talk to him a little bit about what you and I were talking about, but I think we'll take a little different tack than not just the facts, but just the process, what's going on, and what some of the legal deficiencies are in this whole, whistleblower story. So I think that should be a pretty fun conversation. And then we've got Rob Natelson coming up, and he is he's taught constitutional law, and he is a senior fellow at the Independence Institute. And we're going to talk to him about the First Amendment and kind of what's happened to the right of free speech and how it's kind of become degraded by some fairly just wrong-headed Supreme Court decisions. And so as a result, our public discourse continues to be this, increasingly vile and disgusting exercise. And I think the founders intended us to have a serious conversation about ideas and have the best ideas rise to the top, not just this fit of name calling and, everyone's a racist, everyone's a white nationalist, everyone's whatever it is they have, but no real content. And that's what we've kind of devolved into. And so I think it should be a good conversation. And then we're going to conclude with Katie Tahuahua, and she is with the Texas Public Policy organization or foundation, and they have a project called Life Powered Initiative. And there they look at free market issues in energy. And, under President Trump, America has become the world's largest energy producer. And it's made a big difference in our economy. It makes it easier for jobs to grow, and it really has, I think, foreign policy benefits, because all of a sudden now you don't have a president who has to make every decision based on what people in the Middle East may say. He can, not be worried about, in the 70s, if you were the president, you had to be worried that the Saudis would cut off our energy, and we'd have those, long lines and so forth. So anyhow, I just think that there's lots of good things about energy that are going on, and we'll have, I think, a very enlightening conversation with Katie about that. So that's what we got on the schedule. I think it's a good, it's a good lineup, and I guarantee it'll be interesting. So and nobody should go away. That's
right. As Rick Trader would say, prevent years of disappointment by staying tuned, so that you can hear our guests talk about these really important issues. I listened to our president talk at the UN, and I was truly impressed with some of the things he said. Of course, he did. It was a great speech. Yeah, he doesn't back off, though. He didn't back off from his tough talk. He called for a stop to the Iranian bloodlust. I think that was calling it pretty much like it is. And the other thing that I was really impressed with was that he called them out for being globalists. He said, patriotism is where it's at, and we're going to enjoy better markets worldwide if you will just look out for what's good for your country and negotiate in those terms rather than this globalism that's kind of swept the left wing of not only our nation, but every nation in the world. Somehow they all think we have to be the same. Yes.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. I mean, his point is America first isn't this sort of thing where we run roughshod over the rest of the world. It's just the President of the United States and the Congress of the United States should be trying to promote America's best interests. Just like when you go to the store, you try to promote your interests. You don't worry about the store's interests. They worry about their interests. And by both of you worrying about your interests in an enlightened sort of way, you both benefit because you get the things you needed and wanted at the store at affordable prices, and they get to sell their goods and services and products and make a profit. And he's just making the same argument politically, is that this also occurs in politics. This concept of if we just will, as nations, do this. There's nothing inherently bad about Canada promoting Canada's interests, or England promoting its, or France its. The problem has been is that we have all these globalists who want us to kind of promote some sort of global interest. And so what you've ended up with, for example, is China gets all the benefits and they're treated like they're some sort of poor stepsister, when in fact the reality is they're not a developing economy. They're one of the largest economies in the world, and yet they get to steal everybody's stuff. We used to put up with them stealing our stuff because we thought, oh, well, they're poor, they're starving, we'll just let them steal. It's not a big deal. It's kind of like, if you were a billionaire and you saw some guy, you dropped a quarter on the ground and some kid picked it up and ran off with it, you probably wouldn't call the police. You just, he needs it more than I do. It's not a big deal. Well, at this point, though, that's not what's happening. They're grabbing us by the heels and holding us up and down like this, and dumping us in, emptying our pockets and scooping everything up. And we've got to react that way. And I think so. He made a very good point. He called out the Chinese and pointed out that the world will be better off if everyone, in a respectful, grown-up fashion, promotes their interests. And their interests, I don't mean their interest in the way that like Hitler tried to promote Germany's interest by dominating everybody, because that's not actually in their interest. Just within your sphere, try to do things that make your people better off, that make your country more affluent. And in the marketplace, when you're making yourself more affluent, you're going to be making other people more affluent. Steve Jobs made a lot of people very rich. He's not the only one who benefited. There's a whole industry out there of supporting iPhones and other things, all the devices and little cool things you can add to them. So the point is, I think Trump's making that same argument politically.
Well, and I think he made another interesting decision himself for his own best interest. Whenever I've seen President Trump speak, he always speaks very off the cuff. But at the UN, he used his teleprompters and he used very specific words, very well chosen words. And I think it's in his best interest to continue to make sure that he does choose his words wisely, because as we pointed out in the first segment, he's being held accountable, and everything is being parsed, even things he hasn't said, they're interpreting as something that he should have said or could have said or would have said. It's just not there. In fact, I saw Schumer calling for the unredacted, and I thought, he says, it's just not all here. Well, it's not. The things he wants to be there aren't there because they're just not there. There is no there. And so that's another thing that I thought was very interesting about the speech, is that he has started to look out for himself a little bit. And I think he really is starting to realize that this attack could get some legs if he isn't careful to make sure that they don't use those things against him, because we're coming right up upon the election cycle. Yeah.
Just real quickly, one of the things I think that illustrates this is they fact checked him on things like when he had the college football team in and the government was closed, so he brought in fast food. And he made the comments, I'm like, yeah, we had enough hamburgers to stack on here, halfway to the moon. An organization fact-checked him on that.
Oh, dear.
And determined that it was a lie because it would take a lot more hamburgers than they had to get halfway to the moon. It's like, okay. And so when my mom said to me, George, if I've said once, I've said it 1,000 times. My mother was just a big liar. It's like, what? Are you kidding me? But that's the level. So I think he's starting to understand he's dealing with people who basically are dishonest liars. So he's just not going to give them anything. He's not going to give them anything.
Well, they have no sense of humor. I found that out. So you can't say just kidding or just joking, because there is no just joking with them. No. They are very literal in the way they listen to you. They're just difficult. They're difficult. They're difficult to even have a conversation with because of their inability to really have a decent discourse. And we're gonna be talking about that, of course, with our guests and much more. After we come back from this break, we'll have our first guest on, Hans Von Spakovsky from the Heritage Institute, and we are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos radio studios on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. Of course, you can watch us on the AUN TV network. And if you'd like a rebroadcast of our shows, just go to our website, ccrshow.com, ccrshow.com. I'm Sharron Engel. My co-host is George Landrith, and we'll be right back after these messages.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Welcome back, listeners, to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Sharron Angle here with my co-host, George Landrith, and we're coming to you, of course, from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios. And if you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrshow.com, ccrshow.com. Also, please like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. George, our guest is ready. Would you do the introduction, please?
Absolutely. I'm honored to do so. Our guest is Hans Von Spakovsky, and I'm sure you've read his books. You've heard him in a variety of different places. He's an authority on a wide range of issues: civil rights, civil justice, the First Amendment, immigration, the rule of law, voting, integrity, you name it. He is a real expert. He's a senior legal fellow at Heritage Foundation's Edwin Meese III Center for Legal Studies. And you've probably read his stuff in the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Times, Politico, Human Events, National Review, Town Hall, you name it, he's there. He has written a great book along with another friend of mine. I'm glad to be able to call Hans a friend, and also John Fund. They've written a great book. It's a book called Who's Counting? How Fraudsters and Bureaucrats Put Your Vote at Risk. And of course, they also wrote Obama's Enforcer, Eric Holder's Justice Department. So with that, thank you and welcome, Hans, back to the Conservative Commandos radio show and television show now.
Well, George, thanks for having me. And Sharron, it's great to see you again, too.
Well, we've got lots we could talk about today. And so the thought was perhaps we could deal with two issues that have, if you will, presidential implications. One, I think, is a very interesting case coming out of California, or at least originating in California, with how Governor Newsom and the legislature were hoping to kind of have California dictate presidential politics. Right. And then, of course, we've got, with Nancy Pelosi's announcement yesterday, we've got a lot of really crazy speculation going on, and there's talk of impeachment yet again. I think this began in November, the day after the election in 2016, and it hasn't stopped, and it probably will never stop. But let's jump into those two issues. Why don't we start in California and then migrate?
Sure. Well, California passed a law signed by the Governor Newsom, that said that you cannot be a candidate on the ballot for a primary presidential election in California unless you disclose 5 years worth of tax returns. What's kind of interesting about that is the state legislature passed the same requirement back when Jerry Brown was the governor, and Jerry Brown vetoed it. A lawsuit was filed, two different lawsuits, one by the Trump campaign, another by individual California Republican voters and the Republican Party out there. And fortunately, about a week ago, a federal judge issued a temporary injunction preventing the law from going into place. And that's actually the correct ruling, because what California is trying to do is to put in more qualifications to be president than what's in the Constitution. And the state can't do that. The Constitution lays out 3 requirements to be president, and a state like California can't put in an additional requirement.
Or change them. What if they'd said he has to be 45 instead of 35?
No, exactly right.
Yeah.
They can't do that. And look, the biggest Supreme Court case on this, you all may recall, was, remember in the late 80s and 90s, there was a movement to impose term limits on members of Congress. Arkansas passed an almost identical law. It said that after you'd served a certain number of terms in the House or the Senate, you could not be placed on the ballot in Arkansas. The Supreme Court threw that out and said states cannot put in term limits. Why? Because that's putting in an extra qualification to be a member of Congress. And that's exactly
I assume they could for state office, but you're saying they couldn't for federal office, right?
That's exactly right. They could do it for state office.
Yeah, the Constitution dictates the requirements or the tests you have to meet to be eligible.
No, that's exactly right. And states can't do this. I have no doubt that California may appeal this. If it gets all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, I think it's a virtual guarantee that the state of California will lose.
Interesting. Yeah, well, it's always interesting to see how people try things. And of course, if you don't like Donald Trump, then heck, this is justified, even though, a few years back it wasn't justified, even by Jerry Brown. But and we see this now with Donald Trump, basically. I don't think I've ever seen the media or anyone else require that we get transcripts of executive conversations between heads of state. I've never heard of that before.
It's never happened.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's dangerous. I mean, first of all, the transcript is basically out of the conversation the president had with the president of Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And look, there's no smoking gun in there. Remember, all the media reports were that, in that conversation, the president said, Ukraine, you're not going to get any foreign aid unless you open an investigation of Biden. That's not in the transcript.
They told us that like 8 times the president, it's like, wait a minute, I read the thing and it wasn't even a major part of the conversation.
No, it was
kind of like an afterthought. It wasn't really the thrust of the conversation.
Yeah, but the thing about this is, look, this is dangerous to our national security, and it's damaging to our foreign policy, because it's difficult for a president to conduct foreign policy effectively if foreign leaders don't want to have frank conversations with him because they're afraid it's going to be disclosed. And the whistleblower complaint that was filed, we now know it made the false claim that the president was soliciting campaign contributions in that conversation. That, of course, also did not occur. But that's damaging, too. Why? The president mistrusts our intelligence community, and he's got reasons to do this. And what's this going to do? It's going to increase his mistrust of the intelligence community, and that damages our national security.
Let me ask you real quick, because this is my take on this: is this guy is not a whistleblower. He wasn't a witness of anything.
No.
I now know more than he knew because I've read the transcript. He basically is a hearsay witness.
Right.
Which is what I would be. If someone had put me on a stand and said, George, testify about what the conversation was, I could tell them what I read in the transcript. But that's not actually admissible evidence.
No, it's clear this whistleblower was not in on this conversation. He heard this secondhand or perhaps thirdhand from others. And look, there's a reason hearsay is not accepted in courts of law, and it's because by the time you get to the second or third person, you have no idea whether what you're hearing is accurate, and it's very clear this was not accurate.
Yeah. Well, you play that game where you whisper, a phrase in someone's ear, and it goes around the room, and by the time it gets back to the person who said it, it is incomprehensible generally. Right. And that's why hearsay is not acceptable. And in a court of law, it only has to be one level of hearsay, and we think there might be actually 2 here, but for sure. But anyhow, and it seems like it because either that or the so-called whistleblower is a liar. It's one or the other.
Right. And it's important to point out the Justice Department just released an opinion from the Office of Legal Counsel because, as you know, Congress has been demanding that this complaint be sent over without any redactions to Congress. But the problem is this wasn't really a whistleblower complaint. The Inspector General only has jurisdiction, and you can only be a whistleblower if you're complaining about the operation of an intelligence agency. Well, the president's conversation with a foreign leader is not anything to do with the operation of one of our intelligence agencies.
Right. Yeah, the first time we heard about this, we were told that this was a big deal and they were hiding documents and then the more you find out, you realize, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't even qualify. It's not a whistleblower. It can't be a whistleblower. Not only is he not in the room, but he's not even. It's not about the subject matter that you can be a whistleblower on. So it's just very interesting to me that this is how it is. We are up against the break, though, and so Hans, we've got to just take a quick just have a few messages here. But I'm glad you're sticking around because I know Sharron wants to get on the conversation. Lots more to talk about. I'll remind our listeners you're listening to and viewing the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landrith with Sharron Engel, and we're coming to the Conservative Commandos radio network, which is broadcast all across this great nation, and on the AUN TV network, and also, of course, carried all over the world, with the possible exception of North Korea, China, and Iran, on Al Gore's amazing internet. Check out our website, ccrshow.com. It's all there. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Sharron Engel here with my co-host, George Landrith. And we want to shout out to our listeners in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Nevada, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Colorado, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, and now we're in Alexandria, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. We've been talking with Hans Von Spakovsky from the Heritage Foundation about a couple of articles that he wrote. One article about increasing the requirements for running for president. Hans, this is, as you said, it's a violation of the constitutional requirements for president, but also you said in your article it's a First Amendment issue. Is that right?
Yeah, it is a First Amendment issue, and the reason is that it's interfering. Remember, the law in California says you can't be certified as a candidate and placed on the ballot for the primary election. So what is this doing? It's preventing Republican voters, for example, from being able to vote for the candidate of their choice in the Republican presidential primary. And the courts have long considered, including the Supreme Court, that that kind of political activity, supporting candidates, voting for candidates, that is basic First Amendment activity and is protected by the Bill of Rights.
Well, California has a kind of a unique system anyway. Their primary is really a runoff. They right. just they don't really have primary candidates. Can you kind of explain how that would work with this idea of the president? I mean, is there really a primary, or he just gets to run off with the crowd?
Well, he would be running, I think, in the presidential primary, but the problem is that he's not going to be on the ballot unless he discloses 5 years worth of tax returns. Yeah, they do have other primary systems there where it's the same primary, I believe, and different candidates are there from different parties, but the presidential primary is a very important primary, and you simply cannot put in restrictions. And I mean, look, go back to what Jerry Brown said, who's a Democrat, well-known Democrat, when he rejected or vetoed this bill several years ago. He said, look, now people want to force a disclosure of tax returns. But what's going to happen when there are other candidates? Are they going to want them to disclose their birth certificates, obviously referring to Barack Obama, or their medical records? Are they going to force that too? You simply cannot put those kind of restrictions in place and say that that's a qualification to be on the ballot.
Right. Now, just concerning these primaries to the president, several states, including my own, we have a caucus state, not a primary state, but we've just opted not to do it. That the president is our choice. He's the Republican candidate. He goes immediately to the general election ballot. We're not going to do the presidential primary. So California, what if the Republican Party just opted out and said we're not going to do a primary? It's just going to be on the general ballot. Can they do that?
That would depend on their state laws, and I don't know what the specific California laws are regarding that. So that varies greatly from state to state. What the rules are for political parties to elect and pick their nominees. Remember, there are also some states, for example, where the parties actually have a choice. I think Virginia is one of them. They can decide whether they're going to have a convention in which they pick their nominee or whether they want to have a statewide primary. But again, that depends on state law.
Yeah, no, you're right about Virginia. So that's exactly right.
Well, this kind of segues into the other issue, this impeachment issue. It seems interesting to me that Nancy Pelosi is pushing so hard for impeachment and her state is pushing so hard to keep the president off the ballot. This just seems like an all-on frontal attack at the president from California. Well,
yeah, I think it is, although it's really interesting the fact that Look, Nancy Pelosi, as you know, made this announcement, but she already had 6 different committees doing investigations of the president for impeachment purposes. So not that much change. But what I found most interesting about this is if you look at our history, normally the House would have a vote of all of its members to authorize the beginning of an impeachment inquiry. That didn't happen here. You simply had the Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, saying, we're going to start an impeachment inquiry. I think that may be because she's caught between her most radical members who want impeachment, but she doesn't want to have a vote because she's concerned about her most vulnerable members. And there's an election next year, and she may not want them to be on record as voting for impeachment because, as you know, polling shows that that's not very popular with the American people. Well, and
do you think she's even trying to protect some Republicans that might vote for that, have to be put on the spot to vote for that, and they don't want to be outed either as not supporting the president because of their own elections?
No, I don't think she has much concern about protecting Republicans.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to leave it there. We're at the end of our time together. Would you please tell our listeners how they can find you, friend you, follow you, read your articles?
Well, sure. They can follow me at heritage.org. Heritage always reprints articles that I publish elsewhere, but they can also check me out at Fox News. I publish there a lot these days, and I just published an article basically about the impeachment process and how it works.
Well, we've enjoyed having you on, as always, Hans Von Spakovsky. Thank you so much for being here. Take care and God bless.
Thanks for having me.
And we are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And now you can watch us on the AUN TV network in Northern California. George Landrith and I will be right back after these messages.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Welcome back, listeners, to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Sharron Engel here with my co-host, George Landrith. And now you can watch our TV show on the AUN TV network in San Francisco, San Rafael, Marin, North Bay, San Jose, Silicon Valley, Santa Rosa, Wine Country, Redding, Chico, Sacramento, and soon in Carson City, Tahoe, and Reno, Nevada. If you would like to have a rebroadcast of our show, please check out our website, ccrshow.com, ccrshow.com. And George, would you do the introduction of our next guest?
Absolutely. I'm really glad to have Rob back on the Conservative Commandos. Rob Natelson is somebody who's divided his professional life in a couple different areas, and as a result has a really wide breadth of expertise and knowledge to share with us. He's been involved in the for-profit, the private sector for profit. He's also been involved in the nonprofit sector as well, and of course in state and local government. He's a former law professor. He's a nationally known constitutional scholar, and he is currently a self-employed consultant. And he serves also as a senior fellow in the constitutional jurisprudence field with the Independence Institute in Denver. And I've attended and spoken at a conference that they sponsor, a leadership summit. It's a great organization. So with that, Rob, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show and television show now.
It's great to be back, George, and thanks for the introduction. It just goes to show you that if you live long enough, you can do almost anything.
Fair enough.
Nothing about the National Football League yet, though.
Okay, well, there's always next season. You never know with injuries, Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about this concept of our public discourse. Now, on one hand, I know that historically we've had some rough discourse throughout our history. There were people who accused George Washington of all things of horrible, unspeakable things in the political realm or in the political discourse. But it does seem to me, when you listen to our discourse today, that it's just gotten to the point now where, and I think current events show this, where it doesn't really matter. It's just a function of, I don't like him, so everything he does has to be motivated by greed and bad motives. And then if it's my guy, everything he did, if there's any ambiguity, it's always because he's a good person. And it's just, we're devolving into this sort of just kind of silliness. And then, of course, as someone who really values the First Amendment, and the idea that the best ideas should rise to the top. Let's get into that a little bit and talk about kind of how our discourse has slid and what that has to do with our First Amendment.
Well, if you're familiar, for example, with the discourse in the founding era, it could be rough. There's no question about that. Political discourse has also always been rough. But I agree with you that we're in what amounts to a tailspin now, discourse tailspin. And it just seems to get worse and worse. And in order for people to be heard, they sometimes think that they have to exceed everybody else in the level of what they're saying. So it's routine now to accuse people of being racists, of having the very worst motives. You see the impeachment inquiry. I think that's part of what this general trend. And so one of the things that I've investigated is, why has this happened? And there's no one simple answer. But I think that part of the answer has to be that the U.S. Supreme Court has interpreted the First Amendment in ways that have encouraged this discourse tailspin, or if you prefer, this race to the bottom.
Right. Let's talk about that a little bit, because one of the things that I find frustrating, I've also taught constitutional law. I'm a lawyer. Don't hold that against me. But as I see it, we now talk in terms of freedom of expression.
Yes.
And our founding fathers were smart guys. They knew that word, and they could have used it if they wanted to. But they talked about freedom of speech, freedom of press. Expression so broad. I mean, expression. I can express myself by all kinds of means, including I could take a baseball bat and threaten somebody and just say, I'm expressing myself. I'm expressing my frustration. But that's not really what they meant to protect.
No. What the First Amendment says is that Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. And at the time, they had some pretty clear understandings of what the scope was of the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press. Now, of course, the boundaries weren't perfect, and sometimes in the founding era discourse, you see arguments over whether something is freedom of the press, but it was pretty well understood, for the most part, what was and wasn't included. So a lewd display, for example, what they would have called a lewd display, nude dancing, let's say, or on-screen sex, or even on-screen simulated sex, that was not freedom of speech or of the press, even though it might have been freedom of expression. Blasphemy, not good faith theological discussion, but smearing somebody's religion just for the purpose of raising hatred, that was not freedom of speech or freedom of the press. And certainly defamation, slander, and libel, that was outside freedom of speech and freedom of the press. Yeah, and we've gotten
to the point now where if you're a public figure, and basically all of us are right now on television, so we're all public figures. That means that people can say whatever they want about us. Yeah, and basically, unless they leave a memo in the file that said, I knew this was false when I said it, but I wanted to say it anyhow because I hate that guy. Absent that memo to file, they can say whatever they want.
Yeah, as you know, George, in the U.S. Supreme Court started this in the 1960s with a case called New York Times versus Sullivan. The first mistake they made was that they interpreted the First Amendment to include court cases. Well, the First Amendment says, and I quote, Congress shall make no law. It's got nothing to do with defamation law. So the second mistake they made was that they essentially gutted, almost entirely, not quite, but almost entirely gutted defamation law with respect to anybody who was initially a public official and later a public figure. So the result is that you can, as you say all kinds of hateful things about another person without realistic fear that that person is going to take you to court to justify his good name. Now, defamation law, libel and slander law in our system and in the English system was designed as a substitute for the duel, right? It was a substitute for people taking each other out and shooting them. And so when you gut defamation law, when you eliminate defamation law for most purposes, you encourage people, if not to fight duels, to get rougher and rougher and rougher as a substitute for that. So that's one of several ways in which the Supreme Court misinterpreted the expressions Congress shall make no law and the freedom of the press and the freedom of speech in ways that have reduced the quality of public discourse. And another example was by saying that freedom of speech included all kinds of expression, including what the founders would have called lewd displays that were simply not within the original boundaries. Now, let me just say one more thing. You may have recalled that there was a famous Supreme Court Justice, Hugo Black, who took the position that the First Amendment was absolute, that the Congress could not regulate within the scope of freedom of speech and freedom of the press. And I think he was right about that. It was designed to be absolute, but only within the defined limits of what the founders understood of freedom of the press and freedom of the press. And that didn't include things like certain types of obscenity, and it didn't include defamation.
Right. I mean, these were things that, to be perfectly honest, they were terms of art. And yes, they understood what they meant. It just didn't mean anything a newspaper said or anything words that came out of your mouth. And it certainly just didn't mean the broad concept of expression. But anyway,
George,
go ahead.
Quickly, there's a very important point here, and that is you just can't pick up the Constitution and read it and think you know what it means. Much of it, as you just said, George, consists of legal words of art that have specific histories and specific meanings.
Absolutely. Well, we're up against the clock, so we've got to take a quick break. But I want to make sure that we remind our listeners, who we are and what we're doing. But after the break, I know Sharron wants to jump in. There's more to talk about and lots more for Rob to enlighten us about. But you are listening to Conservative Commandos and viewing it. I'm George Landrith with Sharron Engel. We're coming to the Conservative Commandos radio network, which is broadcast all across this great nation, our newest station that's been added recently in the D.C. area. And, of course, we're also on the AUN TV network. And, of course, we're also everywhere around the globe thanks to Al Gore's amazing internet. Check out our website, ccrshow.com. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Sharron Engel with my co-host, George Landrith. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, and if you'd like to have a rebroadcast or see a rebroadcast of our show, just check out our website, ccrshow.com, ccrshow.com, or like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. You can find us there as well. And we've been talking with our guest, Rob Natelson, who is with the Independence Institute. We've been talking about the quality of discourse and the First Amendment. And Rob, you know, in 2010, I was the victim of some of this rhetoric, and, you know, it still hangs on. I
remember that.
It was just, a month ago or so, some lady walked up to me and she says, "You're that crazy woman, right?" So all the way back, so you don't get your good name back, and I found there was really nothing I could do. And is there anything that a person can do? Because the rhetoric has really stepped up since 2010. It was harsh then, but it has really stepped up these days.
You know, Sharron, it's funny you mentioned that, because I was in politics too in Montana, and I have a pretty similar experience. When I was running for governor in 2000, a whisper campaign went about that I was a draft dodger, when in fact I had volunteered for military service at the height of the Vietnam War, and the only reason I didn't serve was a hearing defect from birth. There was no way I could deal with this other than to respond in the media, and that simply is not fully adequate, because, as you say, you know, it clings to your boots like manure, and it's very, very, very hard to scrape off. And it does encourage you to respond in kind. By the way, when the Supreme Court misinterpreted the First Amendment, it wasn't just that they said certain types of speech are protected when it should be unprotected. There are other types of speech that they declined to give full protection to. the founders were very clear that they considered commercial speech, commercial advertising, for example, business information to be every bit as important as political information for purposes of freedom of speech and freedom of the press. And yet the court only gives a lesser level of protection to those kinds of speech. Artistic expression is also within the freedom of speech and freedom of the press, so long as it doesn't violate some of the norms I talked about before. And but Supreme Court justices sometimes can understand why someone might want to write a book or why somebody might want to write an article, and they have more trouble understanding why business expression is just as much part of the creative process and it is as important to protect. So what we call free speech, free press law was basically written by the progressive courts of the 20th century. They didn't do the investigation that they needed to do into the meaning of those terms, and the result is the version of the First Amendment that we have now, while not totally wrong, is very seriously distorted.
Very seriously distorted. I like that. And also the race to the bottom as far as language. I think you mentioned that with George, that we're in a race to the bottom. And I think, that's true. I mean, there's obscenity. What I feel is obscenity that's being printed in the newspaper. Now, they don't even blank it out. They don't even give you the little stars. They just put it out there, and it's coming out of the mouths of people that are supposed to be gentlemen, politicians that seem they can use that language. We are under a law. The FCC tells us we can't use those words on the air. So, what's the difference here? I mean, can you now? I mean, it's the norm. So, with young people, they're using that kind of language. So now it's up for grabs. You can do that.
Well, I think it's in some ways it's politically cynical. I mean, I look at someone like Beto O'Rourke, who regularly uses four-letter words in media interviews, and I think he's trying to do that to convey a certain message. But what he's doing is he's lowering the general quality of the culture. There's a certain political cynicism, I think, that's part of it.
Well, it is, as you say, it lowers the quality of the political discourse. I remember that Joy Behar went on TV and called me the B word. I don't even say that. My mother would wash my mouth out with soap for saying that, and when she was called on it. When she was called on it, she says, "Why call my friends that?" So, it's a friendly term. Do you? I don't get this. You said that the founders had in mind lewdness, blasphemy, defamation, and slander because they wanted to stop violence. But do you think that these words that we're using now are inciting a more violent culture? Because it seems like we are in that place where violence is kind of a expected thing at some point.
Well, Sharron, I want to respond first by saying, the founders weren't prudes. I mean, I don't think under the founders' version of the First Amendment they would say censor Lady Chatterley's lover. I mean, it was censored, but it was censored much later than that. So there is certainly a lot of protection in the First Amendment for rather racy speech. Where there isn't protection is in the categories I mentioned. Does it incite violence? Well, there's a lot of attention today on how potential misuse of the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms, may lead to violence. There's insufficient attention, I think, given to how abuse of the supposed freedoms in the First Amendment can provoke violence. Now, I don't think we should be restricting the Second Amendment, because we shouldn't be restricting the right of Second Amendment innocent people because of the actions of a few, and I don't think we should be restricting the First Amendment rights of innocent people because of the action of the few. Nevertheless, it is a legitimate question to say, to what extent is violence provoked by abuse of the First Amendment, or shall we say the right of free expression as well?
Well, I do believe that we have a serious issue with people that are mentally unstable. They take these words from the public discourse and they translate them into some pretty violent acts. It seems like we've seen some evidence of that where they'll say, "Well, I was just supporting my candidate because she hates Trump," and and so do I,
And Sharron, a lot of this hate speech or incitement to violence that they are guilty of is not protected by the First Amendment, either as originally understood or applied by the courts today. The problem, however, is that the norms have shifted. And when the norms shift downward, remember it was a great Daniel Patrick Moynihan, Democratic senator from New York and Harvard scholar, who talked about defining deviancy down. That when you do that, you often wind up getting even more deviancy than you bargained for. And I think, for example, if the U.S. Supreme Court were to say, look, we made a mistake in New York Times versus Sullivan and cases like that, we're going to allow the states to reestablish their traditional defamation laws. It probably wouldn't take more than a few stiff lawsuits and a few large judgments to get people to watch their mouths a little bit more carefully. The conversation would still be as robust as anyone cares for, maybe more. But I think that the tailspin would be arrested.
Less name calling.
Yeah, I think that's true.
More substance.
Yeah.
Well,
and again, yeah. Go ahead, Sharron.
Well, I was just going to say, I was going to ask you what the solution for this problem is, because I've seen this devolvement, and I think you answered my question before I asked it, and that is that we need to take them to task to bring that up.
That's right. We need Supreme Court justices who are committed to the original meaning of the Constitution, and if their original meaning of free speech and free press proves to be too restrictive, then there is the amendment process. But that's a decision that needs to be made by the people as a whole, not just by 5 justices.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there, Rob Natelson. Would you please tell our listeners how they can read your article, how they can follow you,
Sure.
how they can even be your friend and find out more about you?
Well, my articles appear every other month in the Epic Times. Twice a month in the Epic Times. They also appear at the Independence Institute website, i2i.org. And I have a book out there if you're interested in the original meaning of the First Amendment or any other part of the Constitution. The book is called The Original Constitution, what it actually said and meant. And you can pick up a copy of the original Constitution, what it actually said and meant, either at barnesandnoble.com or at amazon.com.
Well, thank you so much, Rob Natelson, for being our guest here on Conservative Commandos radio show. Take care and God bless.
Thank you, Sharron. Thank you, George.
And we are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM FM 24/7. Of course, now you can watch us on the AUN TV network in Northern California. I'm Sharron Engel. I'm here with my co-host, George Landrith, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I want to give a shout out to those listeners in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Nevada, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Colorado, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, and now we're in Washington, D.C. and Alexandria, Virginia. I'm here with my co-host, George Landrith. And George, we have our next guest. Would you welcome her and introduce her, please?
Absolutely. Happy to do that. We have on the line Katie Tahuahua. She manages the communications for the Texas Public Policy Foundation's Life Powered Initiative. And they work on promoting free market energy policies that make sure that we have access to affordable, reliable, and abundant energy. And the reality is that's important. It may not seem to you that that matters that much because you buy gas, you turn on your heat, you flip the light switch. But the reality is that's part of what makes our life today so radically different than the life of our great-great-grandparents. So with that, Katie, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show and television show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, there is LNG, liquid natural gas, has made a big difference in what's going on in America today. We've become a exporter of energy. Part of that is liquefied natural gas. Part of it puts it in a format that allows normally natural gas has to be in a pipeline, but this allows you to liquefy it, and you can ship it on ships overseas, things like that. But let's talk a little bit about why this matters and what's going on in Louisiana. Because oftentimes what happens is when these things develop, the left wants to put a stop to them and shut them down.
Of course. So y'all, I'm sure, recently saw on the news that India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in Louisiana earlier this week, and he signed a deal with a liquefied natural gas company to import LNG to India, and that is huge. It's great news both for America and for India. It's great for the United States because it's more energy jobs. Nearly 10 million people in America work in the energy industry, and thanks to deals like this, they're going to continue to have high-paying, sustainable, upwardly mobile jobs that are great for themselves and their family. And it's good for India because they are going to have access to the kind of affordable, reliable energy as we do in the United States. And it's also actually really great for the environment, too. A lot of people don't realize what gets lost in all the hysteria about climate change is that the United States is actually a world leader in environmental quality. Of the highly populated nations, we have some of the cleanest air in the world. We're the only highly populated country to meet the World Health Organization standards for reducing pollution, particularly particulate matter pollution. India, unfortunately, produces a ton of pollution, and using more of America's clean-burning natural gas in India is actually going to help improve India's environment as well. So that's why we at Life Powered are so excited about this.
Well, let's talk about that for a moment, because I remember just recently reading that the United States, and I'm not a climate change alarmist, but nonetheless, for those who think it's the biggest issue in the world and that we have 12 years to survive, the good news is the United States, despite having the world's most robust economy and a very large population, has reduced its greenhouse gas emissions to basically the levels that existed when Ronald Reagan was president. And that is a country that had an economy that was, about 2/3 the size this one is, and the population was about, a third smaller as well. So much more, many, millions of more people and a much bigger economy, and yet producing much less. And that's largely due to liquefied natural gas or natural gas. And so it seems to me this is a good news story. And yet I often see the left critical of any kind of fossil fuel, including natural gas. It's kind of weird to me, don't you think?
Yeah,
given all
really
the environmental benefits it provides?
Yeah, natural gas is the cleanest burning fossil fuel. It burns much cleaner than coal, especially in countries like India that don't have our same environmental protection technology. And, I share your views on climate change. There's no evidence that the world's going to end in 12 years or 8 years or 5 years, depending on who you ask.
We played this game before a couple times, actually.
CO2 emissions, yeah, we are reducing our emissions more than any other country, and natural gas is going to help do that.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Capitalism did it. It wasn't government mandates. It was fracking, for example, the thing the left hates, fracking. And yet because of fracking, we have a lot more natural gas. The price of natural gas has dropped, made it much more economical to use as an energy, as an electricity producing fuel. And anyhow, it's just very funny to me that the left doesn't quite, they never make sense. It's just like they got to hate stuff that they got to hate. But, it's kind of like, it'd be like a diabetic hating insulin. I don't understand why they hate the things they hate.
Yeah, I totally agree. And if I can take a second to just brag on Texas here, because we are with the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Over the last decade, shale oil and natural gas from places like the Permian Basin here in Texas and New Mexico have added 2,000% more to America's energy production than wind and solar combined. So we're producing so much energy, especially coming out of Texas, but in the rest of the country as well. And it's great news for America and for the countries like India that we're able to export to. And India actually just received their first LNG shipment from Texas specifically last year. So we've been following this very closely, and we're very excited about this new deal with India.
Excellent. How do we ship natural gas to India? It's a long ways away. So obviously pipelines are not really a feasible way of getting it there. So what's the methodology? What's the infrastructure required?
They'll be transported on ships over to India. So no pipelines necessary, which alleviates a lot of the left's concerns, hopefully. So that's how it'll be getting over to India.
Yeah, excellent. Well, one of the things early on we were having a problem, as natural gas was being produced at such new quantities, we didn't have the same infrastructure in place to collect it all and then to distribute it. And it seems to me that that's changed over time. Partly because we're building more pipelines, which we need. And oddly enough, pipelines are very safe. unlike, say, trains or, vehicles that can have wrecks. Pipelines may occasionally spring a leak, but they have systems on them to shut that down immediately, and they don't get in collisions. Pipelines don't run into other pipelines at high rates of speed for some strange reason. But
yeah, and it's unfortunate that some states are still pushing back against pipelines. I believe it's New York's governor is very, very anti-pipeline, and because of that, much of New England is having to import oil and gas from Russia, where they could be getting it from Pennsylvania, just up the street, much cheaper, much more efficiently, and it would be, American natural gas, which would be wonderful, but they can't because they're not allowed to have any pipelines, which is really important.
Right. Yeah, I don't see any reason for us to be buying natural gas from Russia. Why help the Russians? They fund Iran. They fund lots of client states that are messing up the world, a very disruptive force. So no real reason to give them money, particularly when we've got our own.
Especially since we produce it right here. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you about with natural gas, we always hear this argument. When I was in grade school years ago, longer ago than I would like to admit, I was told that by the turn of the century, by 2000, the world would be out of petroleum. We would run out. That we just didn't have enough. And so so as a kid growing up, I kind of, oh wow, we're going to run out someday. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm now as far away from 2000 as I was from 2000 or even further than when I was in elementary school. And yet we haven't run out. We now have more than we've ever had. So tell us what's going on with that. Why is it they always play this game of we're going to run out, we're going to run out, we're going to run out?
It's really, this is the answer we always come back to, and it feels a little repetitive, but it's true. It's free market innovation. We have so much oil and gas resources here and more recoverable coal resources than any other country. And every time we think we're going to run out, we find more. It's kind of like playing whack-a-mole. Like we just find more. And because of the kind of scientific innovation that we can do here in the United States, particularly because we have such affordable, reliable energy to fuel that innovation, improvements in technology means we can drill deeper. We can do horizontal fracking now. We found all kinds of new technology to be able to harvest more of these resources and more efficiently. And like I said, we also keep finding more. So I'm not sure we're ever going to run out. Maybe we'll just continue finding new ways to use it more and more efficiently. One of these days down the line, some new energy resource may come about. It's not going to be wind and solar, at least not for generations and generations until the technology improves. But as far as fossil fuels go, there's really no end in sight. We have plenty of reserves for generations. Right.
Well, we're up against the break, Katie, so we've got to just sign off for a moment, but we will be right back. And with that, Sharron will pick up and where I've left off. But I want to remind our listeners and our viewers, we're the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landrith. She is Sharron Engel. And, of course, we have Katie Tahuahua with us, taught from the Texas, from Texas, talking to us about energy and so forth. But we're going to be right back. Check out our website, ccrshow.com. We're there, we're on the radio, we're on television, but truly everywhere. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm here with my co-host, George Landrith, and of course I'm Sharron Angle. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commando Network studios, but we also have a TV show now in Northern California, places like San Francisco, San Rafael, Marin, North Bay, San Jose, Silicon Valley, Santa Rosa, Wine Country, Redding, Sacramento, and Chico, and now it's coming soon to Nevada, so spreading out. We have been talking with our guest, Katie Tahuahua, who is with the Texas Public Policy Foundation, a Life and Powered Initiative. She has been talking to us about liquid natural gas and the recent visit of the Indian Prime Minister to our country to, let's make a deal. So, with that, Katie, I was very interested in, you said that the World Health Organization has a standard and that the U.S. is the only country in the world that can meet that standard. That's true.
We're the only highly populated country in the world, but yes, that's true. There are a couple of other smaller countries that do meet those standards, but of, the major economic players, United States, UK, Canada, China, Russia, India, those countries, we're the only ones. If you look at the map, which I'll send it to you, it's at lifepower.org. We have a map from the World Health Organization of this pollution graph. The United States is bright, bright green. A couple other countries are bright green. Most of Africa and Asia is red because their pollution levels are unfortunately so high.
Well, I just wanted to reiterate that because there is such a push, I guess, for us to clean up our act. Well, we have, and I can remember when that push started when I was just a kid, and we are all very much aware of our environment and keeping it clean, and it has become such a top priority for Americans that we are now the only developed country, as you say, having a large population and meeting that standard. The other thing that I wanted to ask you about is this Iranian attack on the Saudi Arabia oil fields. Now, how does that affect the U.S. and our markets here?
Fortunately, it didn't affect us as much as it could have. We could have seen an oil shortage, gas prices skyrocketing, things that have happened in the past when there's been unrest in the Middle East. And it really didn't affect us as much as it could have because America has such a strong energy industry. And we were able to say, hey, will provide the oil and gas that the countries around the world need if Saudi Arabia is not able to. So that's really, really fortunate. The more energy that we are able to produce here and use here, as well as export to our neighbors and allies across the world, it shifts the balance of global power in our favor, and it loosens the grip of these hostile and unstable nations on the energy market, which levelizes it and makes prices cheaper, and it's just a huge benefit for our economy as well as other economies around the world.
Well, I remember when Jimmy Carter was president, and we had long lines backed up at gas stations just to fill up your car, and we haven't seen that since. And I'm wondering now if that was even real in some ways. But we certainly became very aware of OPEC and their stranglehold that they had on us right here in our own yards, if you will, with our own vehicles. But I'm wondering, too, about the transport. You said we would be transporting this liquid natural gas to India. And some of that goes around some of those trouble spots in the world. Do you think that we will be affected by, our transportation will be affected by what's going on in the Middle East?
Actually, what's ironic is we have an easier time shipping natural gas and oil to other countries than we do within America. So I would say no, because we have a federal law called the Jones Act that requires natural gas that's shipped within the United States to be built on ships. To be shipped on ships that are made in the United States. Say that 3 times fast. Because it was a union protectionist law that was put into effect decades ago, and unfortunately, no companies in the United States make ships that are capable of transporting this. So the United States can't ship natural gas from one side of the country to the other, for example, whereas we can do that to India or any other country that wants to buy our natural gas. So it's ironic that it's actually going to be easier to get natural gas to India than it would be to get it to other states.
Well, we've talked about price and transportation, and it seems that we can actually provide more stable pricing as well as more stable transportation to other countries. Do you think there's going to be more than just India looking to the U.S. and saying goodbye to OPEC?
I think there will, and I certainly hope so. Like I said, the more energy that we're able to export, we're not just exporting energy, we're also exporting freedom. We're exporting American values because those countries are doing business with us instead of Saudi Arabia or Russia. And like I said before in the previous segment, we're also exporting our clean air because natural gas, especially made in America with our pollution control technology that our private innovation and free market businesses have developed, it is such a clean burning fuel that it's able to pollute less. And so that's really great reasons for other countries to continue purchasing their energy from us. And I hope it'll continue to grow like it has the last couple of years.
Well, and I'm hoping that people listening to you talk about this will just call the liberal left globalists on this and say, you don't know what you're talking about when you're being so adamant against fracking, because what you're telling us, Katie, is that it's opening up the world to so many of the positive things that we have right here in the American culture.
Exactly.
Now, I read an article today which was real interesting to me. I'm in Nevada, so I watch closely what happens in California, and California has made it their mission to do clean energy there. No natural gas, no fossil fuels at all. They're just going to go completely to solar and wind and geothermal, those kinds of things. And you said that's not in our new future. And interestingly enough, they pulled back. They were supposed to get rid of, to power down all of their fossil fuel energy plants in California, and now they've put the brakes on that. Do you think they've really seen the handwriting on the wall, or do you think they're just crazy over there and they're going to continue?
I sure hope they see the writing on the wall. I don't have much faith in California personally. As a Texan, we like to say, "Don't California my Texas." But you're seeing the same thing that's happening in California right now in Europe as well, where countries like Germany are pursuing 100% renewable energy. With current levels of technology, it's just not possible. Especially in Germany, they have to subsidize coal plants to keep them online for backup power, and they're actually importing wood chips from the United States to burn. It's called burning biomass, and it's considered a renewable form of energy, but what they're having to do is import wood from the United States, which is not an efficient way to get energy. So I hope that California is understanding the technical challenges of wind and solar energy, because there's nothing bad about wind and solar. They're not inherently bad, but there's just not powerful enough to sustain entire economies for the simple reason that the wind doesn't always blow and the sun doesn't always shine, whereas we need power to run our lives, our businesses, our hospitals, 24/7. So I really hope that California sees the light on this one.
Well, several years ago, we had rolling brownouts in California because they had tried to do this. They tried to go completely to what they call clean energy and had caused them to not be able to buy. They had used up all their dirty energy credits, and they weren't able to buy any more energy that way, and there just wasn't enough of a supply in what they called clean energy, and so they were experiencing outages, power outages there, and it seems like people have forgotten that, especially in California. But that's really what you're talking about when you say you got to have something that is sustainable and reliable, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, most Americans don't think about where their electricity comes from or how they get it, as long as the lights come on when they flip the switch. But we don't realize that life without electricity is so difficult. Here, there are developing countries where people don't have clean running water or modern medicine because they don't have electricity. And I don't think it's being dramatic to say that that is the kind of thing that could happen in the United States if we no longer have access to the affordable, reliable electricity that we have here, which is why it is so important to kind of push through this renewable fad that's everywhere, especially in the environmentalist movement, because it's just not affordable or reliable, which is the key. So fossil fuels are still critical to our economy, to our everyday lives, and it's great to pursue renewable energy to try and improve the technology through free market innovation, but it's just not sustainable as a main power source at this time.
Well, and with that, we're going to have to let you go, but it's probably Texas's destiny to have Silicon Valley move to Texas because California can't sustain that kind of power usage anymore. We are coming, and we would like you now, Katie, to tell us how our listeners can friend you, follow you, read your articles, and really just get better acquainted with what you do there at the Texas Public Policy Foundation Life Powered Initiative.
Absolutely. So the easiest thing to do is to visit our website at lifepowered.org. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the social medias. So just search for Life Powered, and you can find all of our commentary, our op-eds that have been published in major newspapers. We've got a great new series of videos out about the basics of where electricity comes from that I highly recommend that everyone watch. That's all available at lifepowered.org.
Thank you so much, Katie Tahuahua, for being our guest here on Conservative Commandos radio show. Take care and God bless.
Thank you, Sharron.
And we are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos radio network studios and around the world on the internet, iHeartRadio, TalkStream Live, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. Of course, you can watch us on TV at the AUN TV network. And if you'd like a rebroadcast of any of our shows, go to our website, ccrshow.com, ccrshow.com. I'm Sharron Engel. I'm here with my co-host, George Landrith, and we'll be right back after this.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Sharron Angle with my co-host, George Landrith, and of course, we're at the end of the show. George, would you tell people how they can follow you and also thank our guests?
Absolutely. Well, I'm at Frontiers of Freedom, so our website there is ff.org. You can follow me on Twitter at glandrith, Landrith. So with G, it makes it Glandrith. And That's the best way to follow me. And then, of course, I want to thank our guests, because one of the things that's great about Conservative Commandos is they always have the very best guests. We start off with Hans Von Spakovsky. We talked about a number of different issues with him, but we really focused on what's going on in California and the attempt of Governor Newsom to dictate who can run for president, who can't, and essentially try to trump the Constitution in that way. And we then talked also about some of these impeachment whirlwinds that you have going on every other week. They change for whatever the reason is. They've been going on since 2016, November, right after the election, and they continue to this day. But we had a little bit of conversation about that. It was great. Then we got we got Rob Natelson on the line, and he's with the Independence Institute in Denver. And we talked about the First Amendment and kind of what has happened and why some of the Supreme Court cases have essentially put us in this race to the bottom. And I thought it was a very interesting conversation. And then we've concluded, of course, just recently with Katie Tahuahua, and she, of course, is with the Texas Policy Foundation, and they have a program called the Life Powered Initiative, and she works on energy issues. And I thought we had a great conversation about natural gas and liquefied natural gas and how we're finding solutions to problems. And burning cleaner and being environmentally friendly through market forces, not so much through regulatory forces. And I think that's an important lesson. You can be pro-environment and pro-market and freedom at the same time. And I think that conversation is very worthwhile.
That's right. So did I. I'm Sharron Engel. And, of course, you can follow me at SharronEngel.com, SharronEngel.com. But for right now, we got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.